Back to the Tuesday night TNR Group A racing series. We're at Willow Springs tonight in the US, and we've got a 7-car grid by looks of things at the moment, with Andy taking up pole position in the Datsun. We've got Johnny Focus alongside in the Ford, and then we have got Oz Phillips in the Porsche, third on the grid. So we've got no BMWs in the top three. The rest are all BMWs. We've got Graham fourth, battling out for the championship, with Lee 5th, Dugamus 6th and Mark 7th. Mark quickest in practice, just a little bit earlier. So Mark, Johnny Focus and I think Lee set the pace. Graham actually struggling slightly on pace in practice at least. Obviously he's been one of the fastest guys throughout most of the season so far, so we'll see how he gets on from 4th base on the grid. We're about to get underway, just syncing up, and we've got Andy and Johnny on the front row. Who's going to get away quickest? If you want to bet your money on Andy, I think, because the speed of that's in a straight line. And look, he's off like an absolute rocket ship. And into second place already comes, I think, Lee in the blue BMW, but it's Andy who streaks away into an early lead. Fantastic start. Johnny Focus not doing too bad. He's just about managed to gain second place in the Ford Capri. And actually, he's already hassling Andy for the race lead. I think the handling. Oh, and Andy's off. Andy's gone off so early in the race, and that's given Johnny Focus the lead in the Ford. Could be on for the Ford's first victory of the season, as the second place. It's a big battle between Lee and Graham, and Mark, who was fastest in practice earlier, coming up from 4th position there, coming up in 4th position rather. So we have Ford leading BMW. Andy has rejoined 5th in the Datsun ahead of Oz, who hasn't got the best start in the Porsche. Oz looking a little bit more comfortable around this circuit than some of the others in that Porsche. It's a difficult car to handle, and see if he can make some progress. And this is Dugamus rounding out the runners at the moment. We've seen Dugamus pull a couple of decent results already so far, but going back towards the front, Johnny Focus out in the lead in the Ford, and then a big gap really back to Lee, and then a smaller gap to Graham and Mark in the BMW. So the BMW's chasing down, but at the moment Johnny Focus has got a good advantage in that Ford, and we could be on for the first victory of the season for that manufacturer. The 3 BMWs behind, not too close, and Dugamus has managed to get up to 5th actually, so somehow he's got past Oz and Andy's off again in pit lane. Not quite sure how that's happened. His damage isn't turned on. I wonder if he ran a little bit wide and has ended up going through the pit lane. He rejoins in 7th position, but yeah, out in front Johnny having the storming run, being very, very gentle on power as he comes out the right-hander down the hill. This is the trickiest corner on the track. Chatting with Mark and Lee earlier, 2 of the drivers in this, and getting that car turned in and trying not to touch that curve as well, because these cars will just get turned around by those monster curves. And in the background, things not too close between the BMWs, but they are. The 3 BMWs are closer together than they are to the Ford out in the lead. I think it'd be worth just going on board with one of these guys, probably Graham actually, who's now putting Lee under a bit of pressure. And it's great to watch just how much effort these guys have to put in keeping these cars on the track as we head down the start-finish straight, 160 mile an hour in the toe, coming on for 170 as they hit the brake hard. Graham's trying to put Lee under some pressure, but is Graham under pressure himself? He'll go back trackside as he tries to get up the inside of Lee. Oh, he's made contact, and I think Graham could have backed out with that, but he didn't, and he's ended up turning Lee round in a big way and ruining his own race. And Mark gets past up to second, but then comes off himself. So Johnny Focus has now got a massive advantage, and that was all really with Graham having a little look. I thought he was going to back out of it because he didn't really have an overlap on Lee, and then just touched Lee. Lee gets fired off. Mark's lost it himself. Now Graham's back up to second place, and Graham's actually benefited after all of that. But chance of catching Johnny Focus? No chance. No hope at all, I don't think. 6.5 seconds down now, and Johnny's really doing a lovely job in that Ford out front. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that Ford coming home for its first victory. Graham's up to second though, and he'll be pulling points on championship rival Josh, who's not in this race. I think Josh will be joining for races 2 and 3. Lee's in 4th after really being shuffled off the track. quite unfortunate because I don't think he did anything wrong. And who's that in the pit lane? Was that Oz Phillips? No, that wasn't Oz Phillips. And Andy's off again. I didn't see who that was in pit lane. Ah, Johnny Focus. Johnny Focus through the pits. Our race leader has ended up going through the pits as well. So I'm not sure whether they've ended up putting a mandatory pit on this race. Find out towards the end or whether that was a mistake. But Graham, nevertheless, is in the lead now, which I was not really expecting. So he's started to pull away a little bit. Oh, he's made a mistake though. He's off. He's off. Not in a big way, but Mark is now all over the back of him. And let's go forward with Mark. And Graham's off again. I don't think there was contact there. You can't see where Graham is in relation to Mark at the moment. Mark giving a little space. Yep, they're still really, really close. And Lee will be keen to get back on the back of these guys after being shuffled off by Graham rather unceremoniously. Back towards the front. Graham putting massive pressure down on the back end of that work delivery BMW, 150 mile an hour as they head into the final turn, slowing down across the apex, but even on the apex doing over 115, slowing down slightly there, and these cars have just got so much aerodynamic grip as we head across the line, 160 miles per hour, lose a lot of speed through the gear change. The gears are not slip on these cars by any stretch, which just makes them harder to drive. And Mark is our race leader, so this race has been a little bit up and down. It's not really been what I expected. I thought Johnny was going to walk to this, but Johnny now 12 seconds down on these guys. And oh, in the background we saw Dugamus and Oz Phillips come together. That was Oz, I think, trying to get up the inside of Dugamus. We didn't really see how that started, but Dugamus got fired off in a big way, and now he's struggling to get the damn car pointing the right way. These things are difficult enough to grip on tarmac, let alone on grass, and he's going to have to go through that ditch, which is going to be really tricky, but he's back on the tarmac. And then back to the front, we've got a second now between the race leaders, second and a half. Lee a little bit further back, Johnny a long way back after that pit stop. Or perhaps, what we didn't see, perhaps it was a drive-through penalty for a jump start. We didn't quite see what happened. We'll get the rundown from the drivers at the end of the race, but I wonder if there was a jump start or a false start there, and that would explain why Johnny ended up going through the pits, possibly why Andy went into the pits at the end of the first lap. But Andy off again in a big way. That car looking really uncontrollable in the corners after tipping him for a good result in this. It's not worked out at all, and he's off again. So we're 2/3 of the way through. Got a little bit to run. BMW's out front, keeping a fair distance between one another. Mark obviously was really quick in the practice session, considerably quicker than Graham actually. Graham, for the first time this year, looked like he was struggling a little bit, but he's bang on the pace as we come into the race. He's getting on really well. He's in for a good result. Might not be the race win, but I should probably not make guesses anymore because I seem to keep getting them wrong. And Oz quite a long way back, struggling with the Porsche. Doesn't sound great, but just struggling with the handling. And Andy very much the same in that hideous looking Datsun. Graham is now catching onto the back of Mark. Maybe that was more because it was through the slower sections, through the corners. It did look like the gap would come down. And if Mark gets close enough, he may get an opportunity as they head down. It's sort of the back straight, but there's not much straight about it. And he can follow that slipstream. I think Mark might pick up a slipstream of his own from what looks like Andy's Datsun a little bit further ahead as they head in towards the final turn, and Datsun off again, coming into the final turn and spinning in front of them. Yeah, he's off big time this time, and this is really looking quite a handful around this track. Johnny's now got down to 10 seconds gap between him and the race leader. I don't think it's going to be enough to catch with only a couple of laps left to run, but he's definitely showing his pace, and he may get an opportunity on Mark if he can have a stonking couple of laps. That will give him a possibility, I think, of making up one place, but that win looking very much off the cards now. Dugamus in 5th, Oz in 6th, and Andy, as we've already said, spinning out back in the Datsun. But Mark still holding Graham off, and I think I'd be right in saying if Mark can hold on to this would be his first victory in the Group A's during this series, and that would be a really good result. Mark's had some good sessions in these. He's been consistently pretty quick. When I raced with these guys last time out at Laguna Park, it's certainly hands down better than me in these, but that's not really saying it. Monkey could drive better than me in these, but it'd be great to see if Mark can get his first victory. Graham's in 2nd, as he has been for a fair while in the second part of the race. Lee's still in 3rd. Johnny's lost a little bit of time actually out on this lap, so that opportunity of taking the final podium spot off of Lee is looking doubtful now as they head on to the last lap. Look at the speed of that thing, almost 170 coming into turn 1. No slipstream either. It's got the straight line, that Ford, that's for sure. But as we circulate for the final time, the gaps are quite large between these guys, and we're not looking likely to see any changes. Never say never. It's a fabulous sounding Datsun. Just go on board with that briefly as nobody's particularly close to track looking. It's an absolute dog, complete handful, and as we near the end of the lap, hopefully this isn't too early to say, but I think Mark is on for his first race victory of the season in the Group A's. I'm saying it very slowly to give him time to get up to the line so we can congratulate him. Well done, Mark, that's an excellent win. That's your first win, well done. And that was a superb level-headed drive, just what was required in this race. Graham gets 2nd place after a couple of collisions, most notably with this man, Lee, and Lee bringing home another good result there. Lee's already had a win, he's had some good results, so great to see. So well done Mark, Graham and Lee. Johnny, out of luck, I think possibly a drive through, we'll find out after. Killed his hopes, because I think he would have been on for that victory hands down, but wasn't to be this time. Dugamus in 5th, Oz Phillips is likely to finish 6th in the Porsche, but some way back, and Andy is 7th and last. Get a confirmation of that race result coming up shortly. And here we are after first race of the day here at Willow Springs. Confirmation that Mark gets his first race victory. Is also the quickest man. No, he's not quite actually, is he? Johnny Focus was the quickest, the man who could have won that race but finishes 4th in the Ford. We've got Graham 2nd, Lee 3rd. Dugamus recovers to 5th place with Oz Phillips 6th in the Porsche, and Andy finishes last in the Datsun.